Hello Power Rangers Lightning Collection fans, and welcome back to Lightning Storm, the series where lightning always strikes twice, as we had to talk about everything that has happened in the past week for the Power Rangers Lightning Collection. And oh man, April Fool's happened, so I guess we kind of have to cover that, in a way. But next week is Hasbro Pulse Fan Fest, almost said Pulse Con, it's kind of a instinct of mine here, but let's go ahead and get right on into it. So we'll talk about the actual news that we have for this week here, and we're going to go ahead and start with kind of a revisiting of last week's breaking news that I had to add into Lightning Storm at the last second. The fact that the video ended up being an hour late because of it. I apologize for that from last weekend. But while the video was already all set and ready to go, and then I had to delete it and upload a new version of it when we found out about the PRG BLT Lava Equinox 2-pack. So we talked about this for like a second in last week's Lightning Storm, so I figured we might as well talk about it here today. Now that it's been a week since the listing has been found, we can kind of just look at it again. So we don't really know much about it, other than the fact that it has popped up on a couple different Amazon international sites. It was on Amazon Italy, France, Australia, and I think even UK had it for a little period of time. Now, we don't exactly know what it is, although I would have to imagine that it's very likely that this will be an Amazon exclusive. I don't have anything to back that up 100% yet. However, it does not pop up in Walmart's system when I scanned the EAN code. It doesn't mean that it will not pop up in that system. It just means that it's not in there now, or it's being hidden very well. So I do think that it is going to be an Amazon exclusive. Also, the timing is right. It says that it releases on August 1st. And it was a listing that leaked in March, which lines up perfectly to what happened last year with SPD Omega and the Uniforce cycle, where the listing leaked in March and then the set came out in August. They don't have to do that every year, of course, but I do think that we are in the right time frame for that to be happening here. So my money right now is that this will probably be an Amazon exclusive 2-pack. Now, who is it? Don't know for exact certainty. There does not seem to be a season code. There's no BLM, there's no LGY, none of that stuff. It doesn't mean that it isn't a season. Maybe the season code is just not there. Sometimes the codes are just kind of weird like that. However, the only thing that we can really base off of the fact, other than the fact that we know it's Lightning Collection because of the BLT code, which always means Lightning Collection, and then we have 2-pack, which is just 2-pack, but then Lava. That's the one that really kind of helps us try to start to figure out what we got going on here, because Lava was the code name that Hasbro used for the Astronema figure we got in Versus Packs Wave 1 last year. So if they're going to use Lava again, then this would be some other version of Astronema. Either a reuse of the figure that we already have with maybe a new wig or something. That seems like something very easy for them to do. I have seen a lot of fan demand for the other hairstyles for Astronema, so I'd be surprised if Hasbro never gives us those in some capacity, either in just some kind of multiple heads for one figure set. But, you know, anything that they could use to reuse that body mold again, I'm sure they're going to be willing to do that. And then Equinox, of course, a lot of people are going to think that that could be Ecliptor, and that would not be something that would surprise me. I think that it very well could be Ecliptor. Now, could we getting show versions here? Perhaps. I would be more inclined to believe that they were show versions if it had the BLM code, but it doesn't mean that they're not. I know that a lot of people are theorizing that they could be based off of the Heir to Darkness comic that just came out this past week. Now, while I think at first that was my most likely scenario for this 2-pack, if it is Astronema and Ecliptor, it was brought up to me by a couple people, and they're absolutely right, that comics, and the figure timelines in terms of like picking figures for production, the figures would have probably had to been picked for, either production or sculpting or whatever, like well before the comic was kind of a thing. So the timelines just don't really match up very well in terms of like comic and toy development for that to be so quick of a turnaround. I mean, not that they had planned this from the beginning or anything, but like Ranger Slayer didn't premiere in the comics until 2018. She didn't get a figure until 2020, so sometimes it could be like a year and a half to almost 2 years later, which is kind of what even happened with Lord Drakkon Evolution 3. But that kind of ends up lining up. Like Lord Drakkon's very first figure ever was in 2018 when he debuted in the comics in 2016. So it's just one of those things where like, I don't know if 2 years is like absolute like set in stone. I'm sure it's not. I'm sure that there could be things that could help. One thing that could help in this certain instance is the fact that while these are comic designs for Astronema and Ecliptor, they're based off of pre-existing characters, and especially Astronema based off of a character that already has a pre-existing figure that they could begin with a base mold. And then I would say it's almost like, we gotta get Ecliptor in this line at some point, right? We have so many in-space codes that have already leaked for this year, you would have to imagine one of them has got to be him, right? So it would not surprise me if we could get him. Although, if it was him, then you would think that the code would appear again, you know, in Monsters Wave 2, or Monsters Wave 3, sorry, or Wave 10 or anything like that, but he doesn't, so we don't know what this will be. People are just assuming that it will be something in space related because of that lava code, which I would say that makes sense, just based off of how codes work here. But we'll have to wait and see, and maybe we'll see it at Hasbro Pulse Fan Fest on April 9th next week. Who knows? So besides that 2-pack from last weekend, we do have a tiny little bit of news. It's nothing too crazy, but I like to always put this in the news whenever it happens because I always appreciate it. Tom Whalen has updated his website again with more artwork. The full box renders, you know, that he posts a lot, which is great. This time he updated it with the remaining Spectrums. So all the Spectrums he hadn't already uploaded before, which before he had uploaded the ones for the Versus 2-packs, which means that he acknowledged them before Hasbro did. So kudos to you, Tom. I appreciate that. But this time he uploaded the Wave 7 box arts that for the Spectrum series and King Sphinx. He didn't upload one for Pumpkin Wrapper, I'm assuming because the artwork didn't change between the regular one and the Spectrum one, because Pumpkin Wrapper would look weird at a side profile, so they just used the same artwork again on a Spectrum background. So King Sphinx was the only one in the monsters that actually got new artwork, so that, you know, I'm assuming that's what happened there to warrant why that one was posted, because like I said, there wouldn't really be a reason to post one for Pumpkin Wrapper. So at this point in time, Tom has uploaded all of the Spectrum artworks on his site, which I will be linking down in the description below, and you can absolutely check them out if you'd like to look at them, because they are amazing. Now, speaking of Spectrums, I guess we have to discuss this, you know, don't we? Now, we got this picture that was going around the internet and being spread around a bunch of different Lightning Collection groups yesterday, and I was tagged in it numerous times, and I will say, at very first glance, it got me. Very similar to the same figure that got me in a different packaging a couple of months ago. I didn't list it on Lightning Storm at the time because I figured out it was fake before I ever posted anything about it. But this time I just wanted to actually address it here because I see this a lot. I see this happen a lot. With this particular figure, and this is the Armored Red Ranger. Back in October, I saw this picture pop up, which showed a single release Armored Red Ranger in a normal Lightning Collection box. And then yesterday, I saw a single Armored Red Ranger released in a Target exclusive Spectrum box. Now, of course, the first time I saw this, my first reaction to the fact that there could be more Spectrums went something like this. But then I realized, nah, there's something going on here. I don't remember if you guys saw my Lightning Storm episode a couple weeks ago, where I showed off those new random pictures. I think it might have actually been last week, where I showed off those brand new pictures of the Spectrums Wave 7s that were like in a new angle from that one distributor site. One of them had MMPR green at like a slight angle, kind of like this, sort of, like that. And this seems to be the picture that the Photoshop was based off of. Now, how do we know that this is a Photoshop? First of all, very convincing Photoshop of a Spectrum Armored Red Ranger. I gotta admit that there. At first glance, it looks pretty legitimate. But then you start looking at some things here. So he was pointed out on Twitter to me the fact that, and I kind of assume this, that it is a direct mirror of the, like, even with the glare and the same way that the pictures line up on like certain areas and everything, it is perfectly a match to that one promo shot of the MMPR green Spectrum figure. I don't know where they got this artwork from, because this is the kind of Tom box art where it is a full straight profile, like a Spectrum, and there hasn't been any other MMPR Reds in that style, like a Spectrum that I know of. There could be. I mean, there's some pretty good Tom lookalike artists out there that do like inspired by art. Maybe this was a commission and that or something like that. It looks legitimate though, and I say that is probably the most solid piece of like, maybe really looking at it here, right? Also, the text at the bottom, something is off about it. I don't think it's the correct font necessarily. I also think that the lighting on it is very strange in one little area. And also the bandana and the plastic looks to just go over the, like where it turns to the side just a little too weirdly, if that makes any sense. So yeah, overall this was just a very convincing Photoshop of this. And the reason why I think it was spread around so much is because it looks so good, and also the fact that it wasn't posted directly on April Fool's Day. Now, I don't know who actually created it. I don't know like where it stemmed from. I know it comes from Facebook, but I don't know if the person who posted it is the one who created it or not. Same thing with the one from back in October in the single packaging, which you could tell that one was fake. because they used the head from the 3-pack Dino Special Team set, the 6-inch basic figures from last year, and not even the Lightning head, which does look better, but that's one thing you can kind of look at. I also wanted to bring it up here because we are only a week away from Hasbro Pulse Fan Fest, so like it's not out of the realm of possibilities that things would be leaking for Fan Fest, and that maybe they would do an Armored Red, single release, and I guess maybe a Spectrum at Fan Fest. I'm not saying it's a 100% impossibility. It's definitely something that could happen at Fan Fest. This figure is one that I really would have expected to have been re-released again at this point, since it is still only exclusive to the 2019 San Diego Comic-Con 2-pack, while Zeo Gold has been released since then. Now, there are still some accessories in that 2-pack that are exclusive for Zeo Gold. However, in terms of actual figures, this is technically the hardest Lightning Collection figure to track down right now. Not counting MMPR Pink, which is just kind of weirdly too hard to track down. But in terms of like that, there is that. So I'm sure that Hasbro really should re-release an Armored Red Ranger at some point in the line. But maybe this will happen, maybe it will not. Alright, so before we end here, there is not going to be a Lightning Strike of the Week this week. I'm just going to finish out this video. It's already been long enough as it is. Since this will be the final part of Lightning Storm that you guys will see, probably, before Hasbro Pulse Fan Fest, unless I do one of those emergency episodes if I feel like it's warranted, which, leading up to Hasbro Pulse this is so confusing. Leading up to Hasbro Pulse Con in September, I had to do 2 emergency Lightning Storm episodes in the week prior to it. I'm not anticipating that this week, but as for all intents and purposes, right now is the end of Lightning Storm before Hasbro Pulse Fan Fest. So I wanted to go ahead and take the rest of this video to give my personal predictions of what we are going to see then, because this is going to be, I don't feel like it's going to be as major of an event as Hasbro Pulse Con was. They're definitely hyping it up. I wouldn't say the same, but definitely more than it's going to be an intermediate level. We'll get more than a Fan First Friday, I'm pretty confident of that, but we'll probably have to get less than Hasbro Pulse Con, right? Hasbro Pulse Con revealed 10 figures to us. It is our highest amount of figures that was ever revealed in one event. Now, to be fair, we currently have 26 leaked Lightning Collection figures that they could reveal to us. That seemingly, unless anything happens, all 26 of these should be out within the year of 2021. So they really got to get a move on announcing these figures. So there could still be a lot that they announce at FanFest. But in terms of my personal predictions, first of all, here's the chart. I'm not going to go through it in ad nauseum here. I'm sure you all know what all the figures are at this point, or if you haven't, you can check out all the subsequent episodes of Lightning Storm in the last couple of weeks that I have covered them on. But what do I think is the most likely here? So the one thing I'm putting at the top of the list that I think is like almost 100% guarantee, I'm so confident in it, we've got to be seeing Monsters Wave 2. Monsters Wave 2, according to that list of listings from January, is still slated for a June release. June is in like 7 weeks. It's 8 weeks or something. So like, if that's still happening, they got to announce these figures soon. And so they were supposed to release alongside Wave 9 in the summer in June. So I was kind of surprised that they weren't announced at the Fan First Friday on February 12th. So I would say Piranha's Head and Eye Guy are very likely to be revealed at Hasbro Pulse Fan Fest. And that's why they're being at the top of my list. You know, they'll reveal Wave 2. They probably will not reveal Wave 3 yet because that's in the fall. Also in the fall is Versus Packs Wave 2 and Wave 10. So I would say Wave 10, Versus Packs Wave 2, and Monsters Wave 3 are all very unlikely reveals for Hasbro Pulse Fan Fest. The most I could see is the fact that they did already mention that this panel is going to have hints or something like that at things to come. They could potentially drop like, hey, we're doing this figure in Wave 10, but it's not technically its full announcement. It could either just be a deco spec, or it could just be a picture of the Ranger and be like, hey, we're doing this one in Wave 10 or something. That's the most that I could see getting anything out of Wave 10 or Versus Wave 2 or Monsters Wave 3. So in terms of if just pure waves, I'm expecting just Monsters Wave 2 to be the only things that get announced, and everything else will be either fan channel exclusive, probably, Amazon exclusives, other store exclusives. We have a bunch of slots open for store exclusives. We have yet to see any Walmart, Target, Walgreens, GameStop, any of those for the 2021, and those don't leak as frequently, I suppose, as regular waves or something like that. So we could definitely see like what our Walgreens exclusive will be for the year or something like that, because I anticipate we'll get something like that in the fall. And then the final thing I'm expecting, I would like for it to happen, but of course surprises. You always put surprises at the bottom because I never know if we are going to get any surprises or not. As my current mentality always is with the Lightning Collection, I don't care if everything that they reveal is things that we've already discussed here on Lightning Storm. I just like to see it, and I always am just happy to have things finally be revealed to us because I just like to be able to finally pre-order it and kind of, move to the next chapter. And so I know a lot of people, if this event is just purely stuff on the leaked list, since we do have the most amount of Lightning Collection leaks than we have ever had it going at one time, I could see this being a very likely scenario to where there'll be no surprises at all. However, if pictures don't leak out by the end of the week of some of these things and things like that, we could still have some pretty cool surprises up their sleeve for Hasbro Pulse Fan Fest. And also, there's also the fact that we have yet to see the next metallic armor figure. At this point in time, I had kind of expected we would already be getting at least the second one after Pink. So maybe we'll see the next metallic armor there. Metallic Pink was our surprise non-leaked before figure from Hasbro Pulse Con, so maybe Hasbro Pulse Fan Fest will have a metallic figure that didn't leak beforehand. Because Hasbro Pulse exclusives are usually prone to not leaking, so we probably would not always see those come out beforehand. But that is my prediction list for Hasbro Pulse Fan Fest. Of course, like usual, whenever we do this big major events like a Fan Fest Friday or PulseCon or something, there will be a live stream, Lightning Storm Live reaction to it this Friday, and then of course, as usual, which we'll go over in the live stream and everything, there will not be a Lightning Storm next Saturday because we'll just do it on Friday when all this is said and done and things like that. And of course, we'll see if I have to do any other emergency Lightning Storms or anything throughout the week, but we'll just have to wait and see. So guys, thank you guys for watching this week's episode of Lightning Storm. If I do not see you later on this week, in Lightning Storm at least, you'll see me in other videos. If you don't see me in Lightning Storm until next weekend, then I'll see you on Hasbro Pulse Fan Fest Day. And of course, until next time, you can follow me on Twitter at 2 different places, at Living Ranger Key or at LightningFigPR. And until next time, lightning always, what's the outro? The series for lightning always strikes twice.